Hello, good evening. It's Erica here from Me to You Paper Crafts. I'm a Canadian Stampin' Up demonstrator living on the west coast of Canada. Welcome to my Facebook Live. I do this every Thursday night. I call it Case the Catty because I'll take a project out of one of our current catalogs and reproduce it for you, as long as I have all the supplies. And if not, I start substituting, just to show you that you can have a creative flow going here. So welcome. So tonight I am actually using a brand new set from our 2024 mini catalog, which runs from January to April. And it's quite a delightful little catalog. It's got lots of beautiful stuff. And it was so nice to dive into it after Christmas, to get away from reds and greens for Christmas and use some bright and beautiful, or bright and subtle colors for spring. So as you can see, I've got my desktop view there, and you can still see me, but I will focus more on my desktop as we get going. And this is a beautiful stamp set. It's a standalone stamp set, no dies, no punch, nothing to coordinate with it, no paper, nothing. It's just the beautiful images with the blueberries, and they're big, fat, juicy looking blueberries. And so you can do some watercoloring techniques with it, which is, excuse me, what I'm going to do tonight. Now I'm just looking at my desk and I realize that I am missing one of my ink pads, because this weekend I'm headed off for a demonstrator retreat out in Souk. Hi, Carol. Speaking of Souk, Carol lives out in Souk, and I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, so I don't have my my black Memento ink pads. Just bear with me 1 second. I think I have another one on my other table. Yes, here it is. Because we need that for inking up our blueberries. There we go. Okay, so Case the Catty tonight. This is all about what we call stepping it up. So when you're a brand new user or card creator, sometimes you just want to do something really simple. And our three main ingredients for card making is paper, inks, and stamps. Okay, so here, right here, you can see in this photo right here, it's showing you a simple design. It's a card base, a colored card base with a piece of white cardstock. Stamp the flower and color them in. And we have lots of different coloring tools. We've got watercolor pencils, we've got markers, we've got alcohol blends. And then you can also just use our re-inkers, and you can just do some painting, because we also have watercolor paper as well. And then if you want to step it up a bit more, then on this one, you've used a different colored card base again. And some of the blueberries are actually stamped in black ink on the background. So you can create your own backgrounds with your stamps. And then we've got the white cardstock again, stamped with the blueberries, colored in, and then it's mounted on another different colored piece of cardstock. And they've just kind of skewed it a little bit to give it some added interest. And then to step it up even further, this is when you start adding a greeting, you start adding maybe some ribbon in the background, you add some dies to create some visual interest. Okay, now this is the card we're going to make tonight. We're going to go for the full detail on this card. Isn't it pretty? I can't wait to get started with that. All right, so here's our Fluid 100 watercolor paper. We're going to be using that. I've already got a sheet out ready to go, but we have to cut it down to size. The card base I'm using is Blueberry Bushel. I thought that was appropriate to use with, of course, the blueberries. So we've got Blueberry Bushel. And I have cut this 4 1/4 by 11. I'm going to switch cameras now, just so that you can see my desktop a little bit more clearly. So Blueberry Bushel, there we go. And then we're going to cover the whole front of this card with this beautiful paper. This is actually from a 6x6 pack of paper called Meandering Meadows. It's just a spectacular. So when I talk about simple stamping, I mean, you could just make a card with, let's get the other side going here so you can see. There's lots of scenes, meadow scenes in here. And so you could simply, sorry, I just want to keep these in order. You can simply cut this down to size, put it on a card base, And then you could just put a greeting on there. So simple, but there's all these beautiful meadow designs in here with meandering paths, lots of flowers, water scenes, beautiful blue skies with lots of clouds. It's just beautiful pack of paper. Okay, so I use one of the sheets from that pack. Okay, so this is the one that we're using. It's just got the bright blue in here. So we're going to cut this down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 to start. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now, is this, I think I have this oriented the right way, by 5 1/2. Now, never throw out these little bits because this could so easily, so for example, go on the inside of your card. So for example, often we cut a piece of basic white cardstock. This measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. So this piece would fit nicely on the inside of the card with a little bit of a trim. Okay, so you can always add papers to the inside of your card as well. You could cut this down to make it a little bit more narrow, so you could use it on another card as well. So don't throw out your little scraps. Okay. All right, so here is what we need for the card front. So we're going to glue this right on the front of this card like this. And I'm going to use our liquid glue because then I can make sure that it is on there edge to edge. So you can kind of slide the paper around when you use the liquid glue. So that's actually the very first thing that I'm going to do. So this is our liquid glue here. When you're using your liquid glue, you don't want to go too close to your edges because it can, as it flattens out, you don't want it seeping over the edges. Okay, so here I can just start to put it on, and then I can just use my hands, my fingers, and just tap it down to the bottom and make sure that it's on there really well. Okay, so there's our card front, ready to go. Okay, now in the picture, it shows a piece of paper. It's this beautiful Tahitian tide, it's called. It's a beautiful turquoise color. And this is actually a specialty paper that I did not purchase, but you can find it in the annual catalog. So I thought I'd have to make my own. So all I did was took the Tahitian tide cardstock here. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down to size. Now, to help me with sizing, to figure out the size I want, if you know me and follow me, you know that I use a fun little layering little key that I made myself. I've shown this lots of times, but you start out by making a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. That's typically the front of an A2 sized card. And then you cut papers going down 1/4 of an inch. So you keep going down 1/4 of an inch. So when you have all these individual pieces, you can pick one out and then decide, when you look at your card front here, you can kind of see that one's way too big. So I'm going to go down another one. This is 3 by 4 1/4. So I'm just kind of comparing it to the one in the catalog. And I think we might want to go down a little bit more, but I want to make sure that the blueberries will fit on that. This is 2 3/4 by 4. Okay. So I want to grab the stamp set here. And we're doing the larger stamp here, this one here. Now I managed to get part of the labels off the first stage, and I haven't put the other labels on yet. So you don't really have to put your labels on if you don't want to. This will be the cling part that will stick to the stamp. And we're going to need a large block for this. Okay, so I just want to look to see. You know what? I'm looking at the wrong. See, I'm looking at this one, but we're going to do this one. So what I'm looking for is the size for this piece here. So I think this is probably 2 3/4 by 4. Now the circle is a die. Look at this fantastic circle. It's got these little holes cut out on the outside. Now this is from a stamp set bundle called Everyday Details. It's got a beautiful set of dies in here. See, you've got all these squares, and then it has some circles, and it has some decorative elements. Look at this trellis piece here. Beautiful set of dies. So I'm using the largest circle in here. So I've already cut that out. Okay, so what I'm looking at is that this circle is going to be mounted on top of this piece. So 2 3/4 by 4 is the right size, and this is for this Tempting Turquoise. No, it's not Tempting Turquoise. That was an old color that's retired. This is Tahitian Tide. So I'm going to cut this down to 2 3/4 by 4. So let's go to 4. And then 2 3/4. Okay, so this is our background piece. Sorry to have confused you there in the beginning, but this is going to go behind this circle on top of the card. Okay, like so. Now I'd like to add some interest to this here because this textured paper has some texture to it. Not that but it's not embossed. It's sort of a pattern that's built in there. So I'm going to bring out an embossing folder. Why not emboss this piece? Okay. So I think I'm just going to use this basics embossing folder. We have a set of 3 basic embossing folders, and this is nice and subtle. Doesn't have a lot of texture to it, but I'm going to emboss this piece just to give it a little bit of texture. Okay, now if you wanted to, you could ink this up and then emboss it, and you get a bit of a pattern on here if you wanted to do that as well. And then you just take the embossing folder to your kitchen sink and rinse it off. So let me run that through. And look what we get. Judy has joined. Hi, Judy. I'm going to see you tomorrow as well. All right. So here you get 2 different textures. You get what's called a debossed texture, when the texture kind of is little valleys, like little valleys on the cardstock. And then you have the embossed, where they're kind of mountains. They stick up. You can feel the texture on there. Okay. So you can decide to use either side. But I thought this worked well on this card here. So we're going to put that on there. And then we are going to put the circle on. But we've got to now get our blueberries going. So we're going to be fussy cutting because there are no dies that go with this set. So we have to fussy cut. And it's going to be interesting because this watercolor paper is fairly thick. So should we, okay, so you have some choices here. Because I have to fussy cut, I'm changing things up here a little bit. because I have to fussy cut, it's not going to be easy to fussy cut watercolor paper because I've got to get in between all of the branches, you see? So I'm not going to do watercoloring tonight. Change my mind. I've got my glass of water here, sitting here. I've got my water painters here, but I'm not going to watercolor now. I could have done this card and we would just be watercoloring it on here. So I might watercolor to get it ready for another card. But for this one, I think we'll use our blends on just regular white paper. So sorry, I shouldn't say regular white paper, but our basic white cardstock is very, very smooth and it's great paper for coloring. Not so much for watercoloring, but using alcohol markers or watercolor pencils. Okay. All right, let's start this. So that's what most of my videos are like that. I kind of go off script every now and then. All right, so we're going to change our mind and we're going to use our blends. Now our blends are alcohol markers and they color beautifully and they blend. You'll not see any lines or smudges or anything like that. They just blend beautifully. Okay. So are you ladies ready for tomorrow? Hi, Carolyn. How are you? Oh, look how beautiful that is. I love that. Okay. So let me just I'm going to grab Blueberry Bushel and Granny Apple Green. Blueberry Bushel and Granny Apple Green. Blueberry Bushel and Granny Apple Green. Look how beautiful these colors are. Just beautiful. Okay. Now, I'm going to start with the dark. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over these dark or these lines that are built into the stamp. Okay. And then I'm going to use the lighter color and I'm just going to color. And what it will do is will blend the dark into the light. And it'll give you some shading. And if you want to add some more shading afterwards, you can. I can't believe the weekend is here tomorrow. I feel like I just said, how was your weekend, everyone, on Mojo Monday, which I did on Tuesday. Really caught me off guard. I should have perhaps done this earlier and colored it, but I was busy getting all my stuff ready for tomorrow. I feel like it's been a long time since I went to a Stampin' Up event, a local event that is not hosted by Stampin' Up itself. So it's going to be good to get together with everyone and craft our brains out. And from what I can see from the lists that are being put together, we'll be also eating our brains out. This type of stamp set lends itself to people who really like to color. If you don't like to color, this may not be the style of stamp set. This is considered an outline stamp set where it just gives you basically the outline with some shading bits inside versus a solid stamp where the ink does all the coloring when you put the ink pad to it. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit more color in here. Okay, that's coming together nicely. Now we'll do the blueberries. So I'm going to start with the light color. No, I'm going to do the dark color. Carol, you're mostly ready. I'm ready as far as, oh no, I don't have my craft kit together yet, but that should be after I finish this video. I'll put all my craft kit together, but everything else is ready. I haven't packed my clothes yet though. And I'm running out tomorrow morning to pick up my food contributions. So I'm just applying some of the dark first, and then I'm going to come in with the light. I do love blueberries. We buy our blueberries frozen from Costco, and they are amazingly delicious. They're huge. They're juicy. I often think, or I find that they are almost better than when you can get fresh blueberries in the summer. Summer fruit can be a hit and a miss. You can either get a nice, sweet, delicious, plump batch or not so great batch, especially raspberries. I rarely buy raspberries because I'm usually disappointed. They're usually, for me, they're kind of sour. There's a little stem right here. There we go. Okay. So we can now go ahead and fussy cut this. This is going to be a bit of a challenge. Okay, so let's grab my scissors. I don't mind fussy cutting. I find it kind of relaxing. Just go slow and try and turn the paper more than your scissors. Now, I'm not going to go well into that. It's really hard to get into those crevices. I always think I'd like to have a die set for every stamp set, but it makes it a little expensive for everybody to buy when they want something simple. Dies do add more depth to your cards, more texture, more interest, but it's not a quick, I need a card in an hour. You need a stamp set that's fairly simple. For those quick and easy cards. Mind you, you can always just use the stamp set and don't worry about the dies. It's always nice to have the dies for anything you want to do that's a little bit more intricate. We're almost done. Luckily, the rest of the card is fairly simple because fussy cutting can take a bit of time. There we go. Now, even this scrap, I hang on to this because I can easily get a greeting out of that. All right, so now we've got our card base. We've got this piece embossed. Look how pretty that looks on there. Oh, I've got to make sure I've got my card opening the right way. Yes, this is going to go on here like this with a little bit showing on the right-hand side. And this is not centered. Okay. Then this is going to come on top like, oh, look at that. Now we've got a greeting. It says, sending you bunches of birthday wishes. And here's an interesting take on a greeting. It is a greeting on a colored piece of cardstock. This is Granny Apple Green. And I'm just going to trim it down. Let's see, let's use this piece. It's got a flat edge here. And I'm looking for that greeting in here. So it's the longest greeting, so it must be this one. That's kind of why I do like to have my labels on here so that you can tell which stamp is which. I will do it later. Okay, so this is up like this, and then I'm going to use this block here. Okay, and this is done in Granny Apple Green on Granny Apple Green. No, it's not. It's not. It's I think it's Blueberry Bushel on Granny Apple Green. Now, I would rather tap lightly and multiple times than push into the ink, because when you push too hard, you're going to get ink all the way along the edges, and then that could transfer to your cardstock. So remember to do the tap, tap gentle. I learned that from my team lead many, many, many years ago. And we're going to flag the ends. So I'm going to get this down. There we go. Sending you bunches of birthday wishes. What a beautiful summer birthday card. Okay. I'm going to grab my mini trimmer and I'm going to cut this down. And I'm going to trim this end here. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a flagged end on both sides. I love this Granny Apple Green. It's so bright. All right. And I think this is actually trimmed a little bit more, but I'm going to leave it the way it is. Okay. Now, there is also this beautiful metallic woven ribbon. This is one of 5 that was introduced 2 years ago. These are going to be retiring, I think, this year. I think we're on our 2nd year already. And it looks like they've done a little bit of ribbon underneath the circle. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto my card base here. And then I'm going to just do a random sort of circular thing. Or maybe I'll just do, hang on, I think I'll just do this sort of thing. And just throw that on there and then trim my edges as I need to. So I'm going to put this on here. I wanted this to come down on this side. Okay, now I cheat and use Scotch tape. I've got it at my other desk right now, so I'm just going to use this blue tape for now because I don't have the Scotch tape here. So I'm just going to throw this on here. Okay, now This blueberry is going to go, this is going to go on top here like this. And then I think we'll put the blueberries on there, and then we're going to put this on dimensionals. Yep, that's what we're going to do. I think I want to trim this. Change my mind again. Just putting a bit of tape on there. There we go. All right, so let's get some dimensionals on here. I've got more gluing to do. So I've been struggling with this glue all week. I think it's pretty well done. But you can give it a really good shake and it'll work again for another week. It's just amazing. See, look at that. Okay, so this is going to go on here like this. Now, what I often do is, instead of popping the whole thing up on dimensionals, what I often do is I just select areas that I want to pop off the page. And these two leaves up here seem to be a good place to do that. So I'm going to just curl these with my thumb a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some mini dimensionals and my take your pick tool, and I'm going to put some dimensionals on here just to keep them raised off the card, give it a bit of dimension. Okay, and then for the rest of it, I'll just put some glue on here. Just a bit of glue, you don't need a lot. And then I'm going to stick this on here like this and pop those dimensionals down like that. These blueberries are screaming for Wink of Stella. Okay, and then I'm going to also pop up my greeting here. And I'm going to pop this on here like so. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella. Now, this is a pretty, almost empty. I'm just going to put a little bit. I should crack open a new one, because this one is not very glossy. Telling you what, something. Stampin' Up! Had better not retire this Wink of Stella. I think everybody just absolutely, it's one of the favorite tools just to add a little dimension. Okay, I kind of lost my, oh, there we go. So I'm going to just trim up these bits here. Okay. And there you go. Put our greeting on. Now we have another green called Parakeet Party. And the more I look at this almost looks like Parakeet Party. It's a little bit brighter. It's more of a yellowy green than the Granny Apple green, but that's okay. I've done it now. We've also got blends in the Parakeet Party too. Okay, now there's also some gemstones on here. And these are the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. They are an all-purpose general jewel because they are kind of a neutral color, but they've got an iridescence in them. So you can use them on any number of projects. And they've got quite a few on here. So I'm going to take, oh, I'm looking at the wrong picture again. My goodness. Here. And we're going to do two down here. We're going to do a tiny one here. And there's one up here. There's quite a few on this card. They kind of look like raindrops. There you go. There is the card. Now, isn't that funny? I'm looking at my video and I'm upside down all of a sudden. That must have just flipped because I was looking at it earlier and it was the right way up. How bizarre is that? Unless it's been like that the whole time, but I don't think so. Wow, that's weird. All right, so now when you look in the stamp set, there is this smaller cluster, and so you could easily do that on the inside of the card. I've got another piece of white for the inside of the card, and then I'll decorate the inside, and then I'll decorate the envelope. But that turned out, it's beautiful, I think. The colors are really pretty. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. Oh, there's my daughter. Hi, sweetie. Do you like my card? It's pretty. Okay, so I will see some of you ladies at the retreat this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Let me just say goodbye. And I will see you Monday morning for Mojo Monday. I've got a really fun card for you. It's a fun fold for Monday morning. So I'll see you later. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye for now.